You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Global Trade This Week. I'm Pete Mento, and with me, as always, is my courageous, exciting eye candy, Doug Draper. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. Coming to you in my very bland. I'm looking behind me now, and it is 6:16 a.m. in the great town of Fresno, Colorado. And Pete, I had to get into makeup and get my hair dialed in this morning, so I've been up since like 4:30 a.m. to make this show happen. That's how dedicated we are to our listeners.
Being pretty is not easy, Doug.
I know.
It takes work. Buddy. But thank you for putting the effort in for the show today. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm in the parking lot, like this guy, our security guy. I'm like, is the alarm turned off? Because if I walk in there and this place goes berserk, I'm not sure what to do. So I'm in the parking lot trying to figure out how to get in. Nobody is here. But global trade must forge on. So
trade never sleeps, Doug. Trade never sleeps.
Trade never sleeps. That should be our new tagline. We'll ask Keenan to stick that in the show somewhere. Trade never sleeps. I like it.
Trade never sleeps, and neither do we. Mm-hmm. Not at Global Trade This Week. Far too much happening in the world for us to ever take a break, Doug.
Yeah, exactly.
My sarcasm has not dripped through that last line.
Yeah.
But we got some great topics this week. Lots happened, and I wanted you to go ahead and kick it off.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to kick off with a thank you this morning. You and I were down at the TAPA conference last week in Boca. It was great. So a couple things. The concept of old people in Florida during the winter, it is 100% accurate. I walked into a restaurant and pulled the median age down quite a bit. But the other thing, speaking of TAPA, again, appreciate Cindy Rosen for making it all happen. But the one thing, Pete, I was new to the event, you're not, is the collaboration. People are not trying to sell each other with their services or position or angling or whatever. It was true partnership because, cargo security and cargo crime's a big deal and affects us all. So it was noticeable on my front, which makes it a good conference. And so shout out to those folks. It was good. I enjoyed it.
TAPA rules, dude. And they're good. So supportive of the show, so supportive of us. I can't say enough. And I go to most of the TAPA events every year. I've been to a couple overseas as well. They are spectacular. So if you are involved in any way with cargo security, CTPAT, AEO, you need to get engaged with TAPA. You need to get your company to be a member and do everything you can to embrace all the things that they do to make it a more secure supply chain around the world. They're wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Pete, trade never sleeps.
Trade never sleeps.
Trade never sleeps. So anyway, excuse me, I want to give that shout out. But the topic, we spoke about it. We did a live show on stage, which I think was pretty well received. But so I'm going to take a little page from that. And the two things is that, number one, any statistic that you hear about cargo theft, just assume it's going to be much higher. The reality is much greater because people and companies are, and this sounds crazy, but this is human nature, embarrassed, right? That their stuff may have been tampered with, compromised, or stolen. No offense to insurance people, but the fact that you have to pay insurance and premiums and the potential impact, some of the minor theft goes up unreported. So, but the big thing there, Pete, is that all of the cool technology, when you and I have been talking about the digitation and the artificial intelligence and how it's going to, move documents quicker and automate things. The crazy thing is that the bad guys are engaging with that as well. And the one piece I wanted to share with the audience is that the concept of let's wait for a trailer to be parked at this certain location and let's hijack it is certainly still out there. But the next level of that with strategic cargo theft and the ability to monitor what's going on and change and manipulate documents is unbelievable. I mean, literally, Pete, there are nerds in basements working the system like a video game, right? You can fake somebody's identity. You can go in there with a bogus truck and all the documents you can forge through technology. You pick that up. And then the interesting thing is they blend it in, right? The movement of the cargo from point A to point B. There's enough true, honest to goodness, law abiding carriers that are grabbing the freight. So they'll pick it up with a carrier that's had their identity stolen, and then they'll move it to a dock and transload it, potentially splitting the cargo. And the folks that are taking that split cargo from the cross dock are legit people. And how do they know? They're just getting documentation and email traffic and direction from fictitious, made up communication. And it's just some kid working a computer, right? And so they've created, and then those two, they split the cargo and they may take it to a dock. Oh my gosh, this is a redelivery, or we need you to take it to a different dock where that is fraudulent. And so the pervasiveness of this and the technology is enabling it to happen more and more. And so that's a chasing a ghost. That's not some people or group of people that are waiting for a truck to park to get hijacked. This is like a whole nother level, and the technology is getting better and better and better. And one of the breakout sessions was just about how they can manipulate our voices, right? So you can have conversations with people that you may know that sounds exactly like the person that's providing directions, and it's all being controlled by fraudulent people. And it's crazy. And the thing about that, because this is my last point, Pete, is that because they're engaging honest, hardworking carriers, if the shit goes down, they can just cut the tie and they can sever the communication path that they've created, and they just walk away. It's kind of like an Ocean's 11 movie where they're just like, the gig's up, let's just, walk away from the situation, and nobody knows any different. So I was concerned that this is happening. I mean, it's a big deal, and it's going to get worse and worse, maybe the right word, but the technology that you and I are stoked about, that's going to make life easier for the good of the industry and everything else. It's the bad guys are still using it, and it seems like they're always one step ahead. And so cargo theft is increasing. There's all kinds of statistics, but it's pervasive, and it's not going away. And the technology that's helping us is also helping the bad guys out there. And it was eye-opening to the level of what's happening.
Yep. Yeah. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention about that. Our good friend, my good friend, Nate White, had that whole presentation about AI.
Yeah.
And the incredible, almost uncomfortable ability. It made me feel real creepy, that someone could take all these free tools essentially and do the things that he showed us, creating fake pictures, creating fake documents, creating voices, like you said, videos, right? Just how easy it was. He made me feel like you and I could hang out in the basement and probably pull off a hell of a cargo theft using a bunch of, free tools. And we're not the most technologically savvy cats in the world, right? So that freaked me out. And the second one was, the statistic that kept getting thrown around. Cargo theft is up 56% over last year. 56%. And name another part of our industry where you can say like 50. I don't even think rates are down that much, are they? That's a massive number. And how that's not on the front page of the JOC every week or American Shipper. It was an incredible number. And those guys, those men and women that were at TAPA, the stories that they'll tell in public, the stories that they'll tell people in confidence, they're incredible. The level of sophistication, the level of creativity that's being used by the bad guys is so advanced. The work you have to do to stay a step ahead. And what I loved about TAPA, what I love about PCSC, what I love about HDA is they know that they're stronger together, and collectively they can probably get a step up on the bad guys. They talked a bit about Cynthia Hetherington, who is one of my top 10 favorite people in the entire earth, regardless of our industry. The work that she does on dealing with the dark web and working through social media and using technology to uncover really horrible things. There are good people out there that are doing the things that need to be done in order to try to make the supply chain more safe. And the last thing I'll say is, there's a gentleman who he is pivotal, right? to cargo security. His name is Chuck Forsyth. He's at HTA. I give him a lot of grief. I do, but it's because we're very old friends, and the things that he's seen, the relationships he has, bringing everyone together, for PCSC, and being able to sort of be that pivot where everyone can reach out to him to get help. And he's just a non-judgmental connector of people. And really, that was the most impressive thing that I saw, whether it was law enforcement, service providers, or shippers. Everybody was there to not just collaborate, but to share ideas and to look for ways in the future to work with each other in case something happened. They're not going to be victimized. We need more of this, whether it's trade, compliance, transportation. We need to find ways to collaborate, because if we do, we're going to make this a much better industry.
Yeah, agreed. All right, man. What's your topic one?
Yeah, topic one is a continuation of another conversation that we had. I got to pull up the name of the vessel. Last week there was a Norwegian flag ship. It was called the Strinda, that was attacked in the Red Sea, and this is a bit of a diversion from what we had seen before, where it was only Israeli-owned vessels that were being attacked by the Houthis. Now, all trade is probably going to be affected. This has nothing to do with the nation state of Israel. It has nothing to do with Israeli ownership. It has nothing to do with any of that. They just went after a ship that happened to be, approachable and they could do something about. I can't stress enough the geopolitical backlash that could come from continued attacks on these vessels in this particular part of the world, and what it could mean for insurance, what it could mean for rates if people feel it's just too dangerous to transit that part of the world, and what it's going to mean for shipping times. You cut the time from Europe to Asia in half and back and forth by using that canal. And if we decide it's just too dangerous, it's going to jack up rates, it's going to jack up transit times, and it's going to have a real negative impact on our industry as a whole, particularly about predictability. And it's cheap to do. Doesn't take a lot of work to try to be a nasty person and attack one of these vessels. We have to do something as a global community to put more security in that particular part of the area. And it can't just be the United States. I know the French are sending ships now, as are the British, but it's going to take a lot more than that to secure that sea lane, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think under the guise of the Israeli war, the Ukraine war, what's going on there, I think that there's, the bad actors, so to speak, are using that, right? Like you said at the very beginning, is it directly affected to the war? Indirectly, because it's like, hey, look over here, look what's going on while I'm taking this cargo theft. So I don't know why people, we spoke about this on a previous show, directing traffic into it. It's almost like sitting ducks. We had some talk where folks, because of the Panama Canal and the weather situation and the locks slowing down, and you got to get in line, and if you don't book an appointment, like a fancy restaurant in downtown LA, you're not getting in. And so people are like, screw that. We're just going to, give it a shot and go through the Suez Canal. And so it's almost like sitting ducks to some degree. And the folks that are not going to participate, I'll tell you what, their transit times are going to increase. And the predictability that you made mention of, give me visibility. Let me understand what my cargo is, and I can manage it. The unknown and what's going on is what is super detrimental. So the redirection of those vessels, the longer transit, will certainly have a ripple effect. And I think it'll ripple effect all the way down to you and I as consumers.
Yeah, it's an industry that craves predictability. We need it. It's a big part of this on-time stuff. What really gets me about these attacks is, they teach you in international relations classes, a terrorist or a rogue state just has to not lose. They just have to not lose. If they win, great. But if they can continue to get someone to keep taking them seriously and continue that war to go on, all it's going to do is create more people trying to fight on their side, and they can continue to pester the shipping lanes. And this is a great example of that. It's just some drones and time and very little expense, and you can continue to lay waste to one of the most important trade lanes in the world with devastating economic effect without a whole lot of money and a whole lot of people. I think we're a little too comfortable and a little too confident in just how secure global trade is, pal.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that brings us to halftime, brought to us by Cap Logistics. Again, I always say that you and I wouldn't have the soapbox and the fun time to get together every week without those guys. So visit caplogistics.com when you can to learn more about those services. So, Pete, I like your topic. Anyway, let her rip.
Yeah, so we're starting to see the Cybertruck from Tesla. It's out. People are receiving their copies of them, their versions of them, all over social media. So trucks are a special kind of car freak. And being a Texan living in New Hampshire as well, I can tell you, I know a lot of people that are super into trucks and into modifying them, making them faster, making them bigger, all those things. The Cybertruck has become a polarizing vehicle amongst that particular sect of folks. There are people who, for whatever reason, political aesthetics, they hate the thing. They hate it. And then there's video after video of it just smoking Ford Lightnings and all these other modified cars. I mean, just destroying them. And I guess the really fast ones aren't even out yet. So what's your take on the Cybertruck, Doug? Do we like it? Do we not like it? I don't like it for aesthetic reasons and because I have a hard time thinking I'd be able to put, 500 pounds of cow shit in the back of it and feel like that's what it was made for. Yeah. So for me, it doesn't feel like a pickup truck. It feels like something that Elon wants to make sure we have for Mars.
Yeah. Oh, 100% agree. The practicality of that truck is almost zero. And I think what's going to happen is if you see it, you're going to be like, that guy or gal in that truck is an asshole, right? They're just throwing money so they can have the latest and greatest, right? I get it's fast. I've seen the video when it was launched last week when Musk was up there, channeling his Steve Jobs best efforts. But yeah, I don't get it. It's the practicality is zero. The aesthetic value, as you said, is zero. And I don't know who would purchase it unless you're just trying to show off in some statement. Hence my comment about the driver a second ago.
Yeah. Well, Doug, to be fair, and I say this a lot about Teslas and Polestars and all these electric, I don't think they're being marketed and designed for guys like you and I.
Yeah.
I think they're being marketed and designed for another generation and what they want to see in cars. The interior is so stark and unappealing to me. It doesn't feel like something that my grandfather would drive around with, with a loaded pistol and a bottle of whiskey in the seat next to him. It's just not, it's not a truck that a farmer would want. And, we have those sorts of routes. So I think it's for, it's for these guys that buy that Lamborghini SUV and for people who are buying those sorts of cars. I love the Rivian truck. It looks like a truck and it drives fast and it's comfortable. But it still has the practicality of a regular bed and all that stuff. So, but I don't think they're being made for us. Tesla, and you and I have disagreed about this too. I'm blown away at the technology and the things that they can do. But from an aesthetic standpoint, I'm still a car guy. And I want my car to look like something, sexy and tough and sometimes scary. And these trucks and these cars, they just don't, which is why I'm not there yet. Now, put one of those engines in a 911 or, slap one of those bad boys in a big Dodge Ram 1500. We can have a talk. Yeah, we can have a talk.
Yeah, I don't expect any shotgun racks in the back of the window.
Someone's going to do it, buddy. Somebody in Austin, somebody in Texas is absolutely going to put a gun rack in the back of their Cybertruck. I'm going to search the internet for that because someone probably already has.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I came across this, Pete, when I was joking with you guys. When I'm out here in Fresno, I seem to watch a lot of Fox and Friends when I come out here. And there was a comment made the other day about this new republic. Now, it's not new, but there's this republic outside of Reno. It's called Mollassia. Never heard of it. It's been around since 1977. It's a sovereign, independent nation within the territory of the United States. Is it a real place? It is like 11.3. I'm looking at some of the stuff right now. I'm talking to you. 11.3 acres, right? It's in southern California. Well, it's kind of right outside the border of Reno on the Nevada side. You can't become a citizen because there's no more room. right? You can't be a full resident. They don't pay taxes, but they provide a donation to the nation state of the United States. So they kind of are paying taxes. There's one guy, which is quite a character. I think they have the population at like 11 plus 2 dogs. And it is like in the middle of nowhere. There's no paved streets. It's like a compound out in the middle of nowhere. And there was a press release they did a couple months ago where they just raised money to repair their railroad system. And they got a picture of it, and it's a freaking model train. Right? If you go to Mollassia.org, right, because it's not a .gov, it's a .org. But so not only is Mollassia kind of strange, but it reaffirms the fact that people in Northwest Nevada are whack jobs, right? And I apologize, but Pete, as you know, I'm usually in a collared shirt, but since it's so early in the morning, of the two of us who's been to Burning Man, it was me. And that whole Burning Man is just right up there in the Black Rock Desert and the whole 9 yards. But it's a whole nother world out there in Northwest Nevada. And when I saw this thing on Mollassia, I was like, yep, if there's one place that fits the United States, that's exactly where it is, because I don't know, there's a magnet or a draw to some strange people that want to move there. So anyway, Mollassia.org. It's a shout out. So maybe I can be an ambassador and get paid $0.
Yeah.
What's that?
So this cracks me up, Doug. And what's unfortunate, pal, I have had to do a lot of research about this because many of these countries have tried to establish themselves as free trade zones. And, there's a lot of questions about taxation for highly dutiable goods and selling them out of there. I had a friend of mine at grad school in Harvard who was a member of the Iroquois Nation, who did his master's degree thesis on whether or not the Iroquois Nation could act as a sovereign nation with regards to trade and have their own free trade agreements. Mm-hmm. It's madness. But if you have time today, everybody, Wiki, right? So Wikipedia, go Google the list of micronations. There are hundreds. They're all over the place. One of my favorites is the nation of Sealand, which is basically an oil rig, abandoned oil platform off the coast, I think, of the United Kingdom. If you're ever on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook and you see become a duke, become a duchess, become a prince, right? They do that. So for a donation, they will make you part of their monarchy. And they issue passports, but I don't believe anyone accepts them. Like, I think if you and I flew to Mexico for the weekend, they wouldn't take our Sealand passport. But yeah, the list is ridiculous. And some of my favorite names, pal, the Grand Duchy of Avram, which is off the coast of Australia, or it's in Australia. It was made basically as a tax dodge for one person. I mean, you got to love that. Yeah. The province of Bumbunga. Alarmed by the possibility of Australia becoming a republic, a monarch has declared his farm in Bumbunga, South Australia, as an independent state loyal to the Crown of Great Britain. Like, the reasons for why people did this are, one of them, he wanted to be a polygamist, so he created his own nation. Wow. These are just hysterical. Spend some time today reading about them and where they are. It will make you question humanity, that there are so many of these micronations all over the world, pal.
Yeah, I could see the passport thing. It's one of those sketch artists that you have at Disney where they show up and your kids sit in a chair and they just scratch out their silhouette in like 45 seconds. Yeah, that's what the passport looks like in those micronations.
Yeah, these are hysterical. Anyway,
yeah,
that's gonna do it for halftime for us. So I guess we'll go on to the next topic, Doug.
Yeah. So the next topic is a new service that Walmart came out with, and it's referred to as a Parcel station, right? And they're testing it in 40 or 50 stores. And when I first saw this, I'm like, that's cool. It's a mini post office where you can buy your stuff that you don't really need and mail it off to your niece or nephew. And so you buy it, you walk 20 feet, and you ship it out. So I had the initial concept completely wrong. It's literally a depot and a drop-off point So if you order product, the whole concept, Pete, is to get the final mile delivery as fast as possible. So it may take a day from a DC to get to that store, but they can pull it in from that a parcel station, and using their network of independent and drivers like you and I to make that final delivery, within hours, sometimes within 30 minutes. And so the whole concept of getting the final mile closer to the end consumer, Walmart is embracing it. They're aggressively going after it. So there's 40, it's in the usual markets, the big city markets, Southern California and Dallas and Atlanta and those kind of things. So I like it. It shows that the consumer has morphed from, hey, I like being a Prime member because I can get free 2-day shipping, to just expediting quicker and quicker and quicker. And the demand and the expectation to have that final mile and the instant gratification of buying the crap that you don't really need is prevalent, and Walmart's embracing it. And I'll give them a little shout out that, it's not necessarily novel to have a drop zone in a Walmart store, so you're closer to your end consumer. But I get it, and they're actually trying it, and they're approaching it a little bit differently. So anyway, it caught my attention. I thought I wanted to bring it up on today's show.
Yeah, I'm going to start my comments by saying simply, I will never bet against Walmart, ever. Yeah. They have this massive footprint. They have a continued history of blazing success when it comes to the retail industry, and I think that people sleep on them when they come up with innovation, and that will be to their detriment. So in this particular instance, first of all, Doug, I'm shocked you didn't come up with some acronym like BOPUS for this.
I was thinking about it, and yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to come up with some half-ass acronym. It's got to be powerful. And so I did think about it, and I couldn't come up with a good one.
Yeah. Every e-commerce company, Amazon, Wayfair, Alibaba, they all want physical retail. And it's so expensive to do it. It's hard to establish yourself. Walmart has it. And I think this is an extension of the fact of focusing on what they're better at than their competition, and using that as a lever to continue to grow in that market of e-commerce. And I think eventually it's going to turn into, you and I are at a Walmart, picking up, I don't know, fishing lures and bait or whatever, and remember that our daughter wanted something, and be able to say, I'm going to buy this here. I see it. I physically see it. Shopping with that tactile feel, and then being able to turn that into a fast final mile delivery the next day for that other person. So it's shopping in person, but delivering it in an e-commerce fashion to someone else. I think that's going to be something that Walmart's going to do better than practically anybody else.
Yeah, agreed. So I like your comment about never bet against Walmart. It's kind of like nobody ever got fired by an IBM. Right?
Yeah. They've got the money and they've got the footprint to do some real damage. And I think this is a great salvo in that continued war with Amazon.
Yeah, cool. All right, brother, bring us home.
Second topic. I was excited last year. I'm excited this year. The UN's report on global trade from the Department of the Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD.
Love it.
Yeah. They've come out with their established analysis for next year and guidelines. Statistically, you got to read the whole thing, folks. You got to read the whole thing, right? You got to sit down, I guess, I don't know, take an Adderall if you have to, drink some coffee, but you got to read the whole thing. And there was a real mistake that's being made with the press. So the press is saying global trade is probably going to contract 5% next year. That is terrifying, Doug, right? Just 5% is like, whoa. And for this usual sunshine and roses and puppy dog kisses group to say 5%, that's big. Mm-hmm. If they would have said 1 or 2, we'd been like, oh, but 5, wow. But the lead that they buried is that services will be down around 3%, but goods will be down around 8%. So UNCTAD is, they're saying that we can expect global trade in goods to be 8% down globally. Doug, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. And these are people that almost always sandbag their numbers. They almost always under predict where they think they're going to go. I will not be surprised if the global goods expansion is 10% or higher next year based on that. And I mean, we all know it's bad, but I think 2024 may go down in our lifetime as one of the worst years for global trade.
Wow, that's a bold statement. And first of all, when you said UNTAG, I thought you sneezed, and I was about to say Gesundheit.
Gesundheit.
But yes, we've talked about this in the past, is that the economy, the world economy, is two things: goods and services. And during COVID, goods went berserk, right? And we always use the Peloton as the example.
Yep.
People were buying stuff, right? And then when the pandemic broke, people wanted to have the experience economy. They wanted to go out to dinner. They wanted to take the vacation that got canceled. And my personal take on it, Pete, is that people are like, that's a pretty good way to live your life. And going to visit family or taking experiences and going places, it's impacting. It's meaningful to individuals, not to go down a touchy-feely point here. But I think what we're seeing to some degree is consumers are like, I don't need that thing that I was going to buy and stick in the corner that I put in the garage sale the next summer. But they're saying experiences and the service economy and having those type of things has value, mentally has value, and all the crap that we buy that we don't need, that you so eloquently say time and again. I think this is a tangible reflection of that.
I agree. Yeah. And it's a manifestation of it. I think also no matter what anyone says, the amount of inventory still sitting in warehouses is problematic. Mm-hmm. So I think this is the year we start seeing fire sales on retail with a down economy, with people's credit just jacked up, and there's not a lot of money that's going to be floating around on the credit side, and creditors a little unwilling or a little tentative to give out more credit to consumers. So you're going to have to see prices come down. And hey, inflation just went up 0.1%. That's all over the month before. So I guess everything's better, Doug. Well, I guess
life is good. Life is good. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. So one thing, Pete, that we spoke about is that next week is the 2024 prediction show. We're going to drop that. We're going to be back in the saddle. So we're going to do that on Monday. Last year, you had like 9 predictions and I had 3, right? So we'll have to, that means I hedge my bet. So I'm not as wrong if my predictions don't happen, but I'm excited about it. I already got a couple things noodling around. So the prediction show for 2024, everybody, happens next week. We hope you tune in, and we appreciate you tuning in this week and all weeks to listen to our show and our banter.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be here without our listeners. So
Doug, your couple of predictions against my crap tons of predictions. Yeah. The best way I can describe this is you're like Peyton Manning. Okay, you're gonna take the low percentage, safe ones out there, feel real confident in them, and you're not going to be a gunslinger. I am Brett Favre. I'm going to spray the field like a psychopath with every idea that I've got. Okay, so I'm your Brett Favre against your Peyton Manning here. Granted, Peyton Manning is definitely had but let's face it, who was more fun to watch? Who was more fun to watch, buddy? The Maniac. And I'm going to bring some crazy crap next week. You guys just wait.
All right. Good deal.
One more thing. For our listeners, there is a movie on Netflix called just give me a second. Just give me a second, folks. This is going to be worth it, I promise you. It is called Hold on.
I think I know the movie. I think I know the movie.
Leave the World Behind.
Yeah.
Now I know that I give a lot of movie recommendations, but all of you have Netflix. You can watch it at home. It's a solid 90 minutes, no problem. But if you want to know why I don't sleep a lot and have like explosive diarrhea over cargo security and cybercrime, check this movie out. It is probably one of the best done from a visual perspective. Explanations of what would happen if we had a catastrophic cyber event that you're ever going to see. And if you don't want to run out and start buying canned peaches and ammo after watching this thing, you're not paying enough attention. Yeah. So Leave the World Behind. Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon, Ethan Hawke, fantastic film.
Yeah. And I think Obama had something to do with it, right? He's a producer.
Yeah, he's a producer, which means that he just put that on. They put his name on it as part of his, $50 million Netflix deal that he had. So him and Michelle are both on it.
Nice. Good deal. Good way to end the show. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you next week on 2024 predictions. All right, Pete. Take care, my man.
Peace, buddy.
All right. See ya.